Hello, happy Tuesday, and welcome to season 2, episode 8 of Kings Speak. We titled this Happily Ever After because we have a very special guest in the building. So I want you guys to grab a snack, sit down, turn this up, and tune into the conversation. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Happy Tuesday and welcome to Kings Speak, where we talk manhood, self-mastery, and emotional intelligence with king-level men from all walks of life. So today, I see you guys in the chat, Women Speaking Life. Hello. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have a very special guest, author, podcaster, and this gentleman is celebrating a 20-year anniversary in his marriage. So why not talk happily ever after with someone who knows all about it? So please help me welcome our guest, Anthony Briscoe. I see him in here. Tony Briscoe.
Hey, can you hear me at all?
I can hear you loud and clear.
The drama I had getting my system together was crazy, but I'm glad to be here with the queen, Jaimi Alexander. Wow.
I love it.
Powerful interviewer, really enjoy following your work. You are absolutely amazing and inspiring with your workouts. And so I appreciate you and appreciate you having me on, definitely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You know, if you're having all that trouble, that means we're going to have a good conversation. Let's just start with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, I appreciate you. You know, sometimes I wonder, am I being all over the place? I have King Speak. I'm working out. I'm doing this, but I love it. This is me. It's who I am. So thank you for appreciating that. I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
Well, good. I love your support and the times we did get a chance to exchange. And I was like, you know what? He's going to be perfect for the show. You're very wise. And I can just tell by the way people engage with certain things, like where your head's at and what you have to offer the world. And, you know, the world is watching. So
yes, the world. I'm in the hot seat for real.
Right.
It's the hot seat, but I'm grateful for it. You know, I shared your questions with my wife. Let her know I'd be interviewing today. So, you know, she's just like, do what you do, husband. So, so I am here.
Shout out
yes. She's an amazing woman. To be married to a Briscoe for 20 years, she needs a Nobel Peace Prize and everything else that could come with that. She is amazing.
I love to hear that. So tell me, I would love, just because you're sharing that about her and you had an opportunity to share this with her, what do you find amazing about her? And is it, you know, tell me a little bit about her and how she compliments you so well and why it works so well for you.
She's an introvert. I'm an extra times 55 extrovert. So that compliments me well. She's really patient, but she is a faith walker. And so I make the statement, you know, my wife's a Christian. I'm a Christian. That's how we met. We met at church, and she's just a faith walker. She does not waver. She does not buckle. If anything comes up, she's like, God got it. I'm not worried about it. You know, he gave us to each other for a reason. So whatever's going on with you, do what you got to do to work it out. But she just has total confidence in me when I don't have it in myself. Right. And so it's I don't look at that as I was in a discussion yesterday on the famous CH that talked about, should women raise men? Absolutely not. My wife made that clear from day one, because every household I've lived in through foster care, it's been a woman has led each household. And so I was used to a certain amount of accommodations because women ran these households. And, you know, early on in dating, my wife was like, yeah, I got your pass, bro, but I'm not the one. I don't raise grown men. And I was just like, well, let's be clear. I don't need you to raise me. I'm going to be good. But it was still having an understanding of I love you. I'll be there for you to support you. And whatever comes, we're going to rat it out no matter what that is. But you still got to do your part.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
She sounds like an amazing woman. And I love that. I always admire people. I consider myself a faith walker, but you know, sometimes it gets challenging. So to have someone who is really rooted in the unwavering of it is a gift, because we're human.
We're human.
It's really easy to waver because we see with our eyes and not our insight. So
she's a faith walker. She's a faith walker. I mean, to the point, we discussed a lot before marriage, right? Premarital counseling, a lot. And so there was just certain things that, I was like, hey, well, I can't go into a marriage with or without something. And, she was the same way. Like, we knew up front, we knew that once she got pregnant, she wanted to stay home. She wanted to homeschool, at least for the first K through 8th grade, right? And I was just like, it kind of takes 2 incomes to raise a family in this economy. She was like, that's cool, but I'm just letting you know what the expectation is. If that's the expectation you can't meet, then we don't need to pursue this relationship any further. And so I'm talking like first month, 2-month discussions, Jaimi, like for real. Like, I mean, just getting it in.
Get to it, sis.
Just get to it, right? My first date with her, I said, I'm not dating you to date you. I'm dating you to marry you. I'm dating you with intent. That's not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just letting you know where I am in my life. And so getting these things out as much as you can in the forefront of premarital talks really helps relationships develop.
Yeah, you know what? I agree 1,000,000%. And what I feel like, not only personally what I go through, but friends of mine, is that a lot of men aren't intentional. They're like just kind of out there and not really. Yeah. And there can be some flow, obviously, like you said, right. I'm dating with the intention for marriage, but we don't know yet if that's me and you. And that should be okay. And I kind of wish more men were on that page where they were just like focused on the marriage part. So how did you get to that part? Was there a transition in you where first you were kind of go with the flow, just dating around, meeting women, blah, blah, blah. And when did it hit you in your life where you're like, nah, like I need a wife? Like,
no, I wasn't like dating around. Like I wasn't that catch. I wasn't the catch. So, I got turned down by sister after sister after sister, but I believe in crying hard. I don't cry long as a man. So, it's like, hey, if you don't want me, that's cool. Thank you for being upfront about it. I'm out. I move on to the next. But, there was a young lady I was like super infatuated with, like before I met my wife. And I studied my wife for 2 months before I even spoke a word to her, because I had to make sure my intentions were good. And so I just wanted to know what was around. The 2 kids that were with her, I thought they were hers, but they turned out to be her nephews, but I didn't know, but I studied because it wasn't a deal breaker for me. I just wanted to have an understanding that if I pursue her, some may call that stalker. I see y'all out there. But if I pursue her, I wanted to know what I was marrying into, right? And so, but I was at a place where I was content being single. And I think that's when that contentment comes into your life, brace yourself, because that's more than likely when that special someone is going to come into your life, and you have to have the wit and the ability and understanding to discern, is this a sheep or is it a wolf in sheep's clothing?
That's so major right there. Hope y'all are taking notes, because I'm very, vocal about the single season. I do see so much value in it, and there's so much power in who you become in that season. And I share with women, because I'm on that journey myself as a single woman who desires to be married. But it's like, I look at the time period and the weight and what's happening, and I just feel like I'm a better woman for it. I can communicate what I need. I can communicate my feelings and emotions and what I'm going through. I know how to make myself happy. Like there will be a lane for my husband to do, but if I don't know who I am or how I'm feeling and can't stand in my own joy, then how do you, so I really do think that's important.
You just said that, stand in my own joy. Wow. Like I'm going to write that down. I'll give you credit the first 2 times. After that is mine. No, but that's real. That's real, And so thank you for sharing that. Cause I mean, that's every bit of wisdom.
Yes. I love that. Thank you. So, okay. You go by the endurer. So I got to know like where that's come from, because it sounds like someone who's aware that they've overcome a lot. So how did you kind of self-title yourself with that? Why do you go by that?
I didn't. So I was in a place where I was going through a lot of personal family issues, and I'm a spoken word artist. So I I write. And just one night, I literally felt the Holy Spirit speak to me and say, your name is the endurer from this day forward. And when I took on that mantle, it's the gift that nobody wants of all the gifts, right? The fruit of the Spirit. We want love, we want peace, we want joy, we want meekness. But when it comes to that long suffering, when people are like, oh, by any means, no, God does not want that for me. And it's not like I live this life that is just straight in the drudges or in the trenches. It's not like that at all. Like in my seasons of enduring, God has always given me more moments of overcoming, more moments of victory. But that name, the endurer, I go by that, and it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me to engage men on it's a spiritual level. I'm going to use the word emotion for the sake of conversation, because that's something that men are often told to repress, right? And so I remember I wrote this piece. It's actually the title of my book, Drops of Ink. When I spit this piece in front of maybe 300 men, Jaimi, and one man, brother, I mean, I was way younger when I wrote this, but a grown man literally got up and cried in my arms. And I'm in my 20s. I don't even know how to deal with that. And how we sometimes just move services on without dealing with the need that was right there. There should have been a hovering of 300 men surrounding this brother and dealing with everything that he expressed without saying it, but the hug and to cry in my arms like that. I was like, man, there are hurting men out there who nobody's talking to. And then they get into marriages while they're still hurting. And I'm no different. I'm married. I was still angry when I got married for no reason. None of my anger had anything to do with my wife. It had to do with unresolved issues from childhood, and it took me literally, I was getting ready to go minister. I had to go preach the word this Sunday morning. I should have done something the night before. I didn't. She said something about it, and I snapped at her. And then I turned around, and she's like literally getting ready to get in her car and go to not the church I was speaking at. She's ready to go to our home church, and she was crying. And man, it tore me up. Oh. It tore me up. And I let her know from that day that if I ever make you cry again, it'll be because of my love and not because I'm an idiot with my words. And I have committed to that. That happened in 2004. We've never been back there again, because I vowed in my mind, I don't want my marriage to be like this. I don't want my wife walking around on eggshells. So I have to do the work. And thank God I worked at a hospital where I had access to counselors, to psychologists, to help me dissect and dialogue and break down some of the things that I had been carrying inside. Like, you're not going to chop off everything in a relationship when you move over into marriage. It's just impossible. And it's impossible. And one of the questions that you sent me was, how did things start off? I don't know what it is, call it spiritual warfare, that when you get married, stuff that did not bother you in the relationship, all of a sudden become like these major, I don't like the way you chew.
Oh my God.
It's like so many things just can come up and just can happen. But what we committed to, we bury ourselves in our church's covenant partners ministry. Now, these meetings, they're group counsel, right? And so, but these are the meetings where if when we throw one of the, we got a Valentine's Day weekend, it's going to be away. You get 70 couples sign up. But when it gets down to the work of those Friday night mentoring sessions,
yes,
you may get 20, you may get 15. Like, the numbers are just generally low, right? But that doesn't stop the work. We work at making this 20-year anniversary we had last week. We work at making this still be a honeymoon.
I love it. And what I'm hearing is it's like, it's complicated, but it's simple. It's a decision. You guys made a decision and a choice. And yes. I feel like when that's in unison, there's so much space to navigate together. It's like you're in the same boat, you both have paddles, and you're going the same direction, instead of just like, well, I don't know, well, the wind blew and I got a paddle, and that, so that choice and that decision is major. And it sounds like such a driver for what got you guys to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And still keeps us there. Like, we stay, with our covenant partner ministries, even during COVID, we haven't been able to meet, but we stay engaged because we know we need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I think now we're having more of those conversations. Like, yes, we want to do the getaways, the pictures of this and that, but I kind of feel like our people, our community is waking up a little more to the childhood traumas, the pains, the angers in men, you know, not being able to speak on your emotions as a man when you're raised and now expected to walk into a marriage and be completely transparent and vulnerable when you don't have to practice and all of these things. So I'm all about the premarital counseling, and I'm so glad you guys are doing the couples. So in that couples ministry, not only are you being pastored, but you are being mentored by other couples who are older than you, I'm assuming.
Well, it's mentoring each other, honestly.
Okay.
It's mentoring each other. So most of the time we're together, but the men, the husbands, when they let us do the locker room, man, we love it. Like the locker room is like, okay, we got the couple session, we got it. But when we get to do the locker room, man, that's where real transparency amongst men happens. And that's where we're able to either challenge each other, and like the men that I'm surrounded with, like, you know, we're not punks. Like we go at each other like, no, dude, you wrong. Like you straight wrong. Or, you know, and being able to receive that type of feedback. It's not a criticism. It's just feedback to how to make things better. And, you know, but that's where we galvanize as men in the body of Christ and pull our resources together. And if we've got to come alongside a brother one-on-one or two-on-one, that's what we'll do. But that's how we hold each other accountable. I mean, I've called some brothers like, hey, man, like, man, this week, bro, I'm about to blow up. He was like, well, define blow up. you know, I got a brother. Yeah, I called the friend who I know is going to hold me accountable. I don't call anybody that levels on the same plane that I do. I have to call someone else who's more mature in an area, because I don't need a pat on the shoulder. I may need to slap upside the head. I'm not going to call a person to give me a pat on the shoulder, but I know I need to slap upside the head, because that will be futile. That's just someone adding into my own story that I have in my head about being right.
Do you know how evolved you have to be to even understand that? People so subconsciously want to be validated, so their ego or whatever they feel can be right. So I think it's subconscious. You'll reach out to the person that you know is going to be like, I know why you feel that way. Yep. Instead of the person to be like, sir, no, that's not it. And this is what. That's amazing. Yeah. Like major there.
I'm going to let you ask questions because, Jaimi, I can run my mouth. You already know.
I love it. This is a conversation, and I love where it's going, and I love what you're sharing. Like that's so major. It's the little things are the big things. So I didn't want to smooth past that like it was nothing. That's a big deal, and it's something that we low key have to work to get to that space. Like I'm even inspired by that. Like, okay, next time I feel like I know I need to check myself, I need to think about who I'm calling. Am I calling somebody who's just going bop with me, or is it going to be someone who's like,
girl, you know he just tripping, right?
Come on, how do we get out if we're still staying in, you know? So I love that. So, okay, you mentioned a little bit about this, but what are some things about marriage that you didn't know going in that you believe cannot be discovered until you are in the union for some time?
Oh, man. Woo. We're still learning about each other, believe it or not.
I believe it.
I'm trying to think, like, what are some of the things? It's really hard to tell because my family is like somewhat, you know, fractured a little bit. Like she always learns, she's still learning new pieces about my upbringing, new pieces about my family and things like that. So for her, I don't think like it's really much that was a surprise. I think I came in with just, I don't want to say baggage, but I came in with more stuff than she did. You know, we went through this great program called the Landmark for Living here in Chicago.
Landmark.
They're worldwide, but I'm gonna tell you, Landmark has revolutionized. I wouldn't say our marriage, because our marriage was pretty strong, but it did make it stronger. Just getting stories out of the head, and so there were some things like I would not want to, you know, if I don't feel like she's attracted to me for whatever reason, like, you know, I still got that bear belly, Jaimi, so I'm just being transparent with the world right now. You know, there were sometimes I would like go to bed with a t-shirt on and then take it off when I got into bed.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't until I opened up and shared that with her. She was like, husband, I love you. Not because of this, not because of that. I love you. And so having to deal with some of those, male body issues that we run into, when my spouse, she still got the flat abs, and, she be getting her grind on every day on her trampoline. And I just started lifting again last week, but it's like this struggle. She's like, dude, I love all of you. I don't care about that stuff. I want you to be better. I want you to get a vegan diet. God bless you.
I'm so sorry. Like, I was going to warn you guys ahead of time. This whole spring
allergy season, like, right? Yes.
I got you. Sneezing. So I'm
you all good.
Know that I'm listening. I'm just over here going.
No, it's good. I thought you were going through. I'm like, I don't think she's praying, but okay, it's gonna be all good.
I'm just like, achoo, achoo. Oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. You're fine. But pieces like that, just uncovering. I think, again, like when you do the premarital counseling work, you really don't come into a lot of surprises that often. When you do that kind of work, I think there are always things that do come up in relationships and in marriage, and those things just have to be dealt with, when they come up. Like me, I told you, I'm an extrovert. So I was a major flirt all the time.
Oh, okay.
And so, getting married, there were certain habits that didn't necessarily die off right away. Right. And so
absolutely.
when you talk about, what modalities are put in place to curb, making sure you don't cross that line, I mean, it's just knowing when to run like Joseph or lay like David. Choose which one you're going to do. You're going to run like Joseph or you're going to lay down like David. And that's the choice to make. And I've chosen to run like Joseph.
Absolutely. No, I love that you brought that up because I know it's a thing. So many men talk about cheating. I mean, we even see with this whole Derek Jackson thing going on in the
media. DJ.
I'm just like, I actually wasn't very attracted to his work that much, but I did watch some of his stuff and I could understand over the years. But it's just kind of like, wow, you say so much to women about what they need to be doing and looking out for and all of this stuff. However, it's you are that person.
Yeah.
So, even as a woman with Kings Speak, I think it's important because I see my guy friends struggle with things, or I can just sense things as a woman. It's important to have these platforms. So I really think that he might need to shift his focus to what, a man needs to be doing, because y'all got your own set of complications.
We have our own set of complications, right? Like that's clear and that's true, And so, my wife said something to me. She's like, hey, bro, just so you know, I'm not going to be running around following up after you. She was like,
I don't
the
have
Holy
the time.
Spirit is all I need to keep you in check. And
so
believe he will reveal darkness. And so, it's sharing those early struggles and then making choices, making decisions, and that I remember Kirk Franklin had on one of his albums, he had this spoken word poem. And in that spoken word poem, there was a line where whoever he had speaking said, it was something about being married and still flirt. And I was like, ooh, you can hear it preach, you can hear it. But when you're a spoken word artist and you hear something that impacts you, that's when it's like, oh man, okay, life changes, lifestyles, right? And I'm not out here like that, but I'm not going to sit up here and also front and say that I was not flirting early on. I was, because old habits, they can be hard to break. And again, it's just you run like Joseph or you lay down, like David. When I put the ring on, not on my finger right now, but when I put it on, I mean, Jaimi, when I say that I was not a ladies' man, like I don't want to get nobody, no knocks on the door, no nothing. It was like when the brother said I do, they came out the woodwork. Like, whoa, you look like Halle Berry. Lord have mercy, Jesus. Hey, it's real. Now, brothers at my church had forewarned me. They was like, Tony, you're getting married. We want to let you know something. When you put the ring, I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. They was like, trust me, it's real. And it was real. It was real, And, again, it's all about honoring the covenant, honoring the contract, and breaking loose of those habits that, one, don't glorify God, don't glorify my wife, and don't glorify my witness, right? And so, you have to learn not to put yourself in situations. I want to tell a quick story. I was in Italy. I was in Italy with the Navy after 9/11. I was in Italy. Didn't have a car, you know. And I was like, and I'm in Italy. Ain't nobody gonna know what's going on in Italy. When I got called up after 9/11, years later, about a year later, no, not a month later, I run into this young lady who I was with when I was in Italy. And I'm thinking, what are the chances of me running into her? But while I was in Italy, I got to talk to her about what was going on because I knew she was in some activity she shouldn't have been in. When I saw her again back in Great Lakes, she let me know that she didn't break the habit and that she's paying a dear price for it. And she lost her husband. And when I say he took everything, he took everything. He took 3 kids. He took the car. He took the house. He took the dog. He took everything. And she was just like, I wish I would have listened to you. I thought I was safe where I was in Europe, however many miles away from home, just doing what I wanted to do. And it's like, you're never safe. You're never safe, you know. And this is why, you know, it's if you got a book coming out, you better do like President Barack Obama did. You better write all your stuff in that book. So if somebody comes to you after you make an announcement, you can say, yeah, that's on page 45, chapter 2. You know,
I already put that out there.
Yeah, it's already out there. And so I think, you know, we just have to be really intentional in our marriages. Marriages are so under attack inside of the household. When you think that, I believe they said domestic violence went up from March to December, almost 512% due to COVID. And you wonder how many spouses are part of that domestic violence. You know, be it men, be it women, but the majority of women are faced with that, you know. And it's just, again, I believe that every issue in a man, probably for women too, but I try to deal with brothers more so than I do with women. So I don't end up like Derek Jackson. That's all I'm gonna say to that.
Exactly.
But and not judging Derek, like, hey, bro, you know, blessings to you and your wife. I pray y'all recover. I pray the relationship gets healed or whatever. I haven't gone to search the brother out. I haven't listened to any interviews because I don't need to. I got enough to deal with in my house to worry about what's going on in Derek Jackson's house. So
that part.
Yeah. But you know,
I mean, as much as I wanted to work with that, I want her to leave. I do. Because you mentioned that story, and I'm so glad you did, with the woman who had the bad habits and then she lost everything. You lose everything. I've been a woman. I was engaged to a man. We were together for 5 years, and he was such a liar and a cheater at the time. And it obliterates the heart of a woman. It just decimates the possibility. It's not fertile ground. And I don't even know, of course, you know, God can do anything, of course. But there's that human part of us that's just like, I don't know what a man has to turn into in order for a woman that he's cheated on to ever trust him again. It's like, now we're in a room at an event. You can't even leave the man talking in peace because you just think something is like it's PTSD. So I don't know. She might be the type of woman who wants to continue to endure that, but I hope they both get fresh starts. You know, I
think in Christian marriages, we underestimate the power of forgiveness. And the redemption in an apology. And I don't say that because I know Christianity is under attack. Oh, y'all always forgiven. I'm sorry. The foundation of my Christian faith is based on forgiveness. I can't avoid it. If I try to shuck around it, I'm going to end up losing everything that I stand for. And that's just for me, right? My wife and I have sat down with close friends who said that once they cheated, we out. And then they actually find out that they actually love them. You know, like, yes. They care about them. And, you know, when you say for better or for worse, it means for better or for worse. Now, I know what y'all thinking. Somebody's like, well, nobody should stay in a marriage where they're getting beat. Absolutely not. I'm not even talking in that context. My sisters, do whatever you have to do to get safe. Just don't do it in Florida because you can get arrested for protecting yourself as a Black woman. I want to make that clear. Don't do it in Florida. But hey, get safe. So please. So I'm not necessarily dealing with the domestic violence piece. I want you safe. I grew up around that stuff, so it's not nice and it's not friendly. right? But I think we can't underestimate the peace of forgiveness. When we know that our hearts and our minds are not always right? Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it but the Lord? And so when I look at things from that context, it helps me put into perspective, this is going to hurt. This is going to cost. What I say to men, you don't get to dictate her forgiveness. If she's forgiven you and wants to see your cell phone every night, cough the cell phone up. If she's forgiven you and wants access to your email, cough the email up. Like we as men just can't say, hey, I made a mistake. How long are you going to hold this over me? No. We have to be, when it talks about submitting yourselves one to another in marriage, in Ephesians, when it talks about that, you have to be able to do whatever she needs you to do to reconcile the right way, to make her comfortable and to make her trust you again. And if husbands are not willing to do that, then it just adds more fuel to the fire. And then you're right, Queen J, you are looking around with this chip on your shoulder, like, can I trust you going to Vegas with the fellas?
The answer is no.
Right.
No.
You said no, not at all.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's when it becomes like, okay, I love forgiveness, but I do. I don't know. Sometimes I put that in the same boat as domestic abuse. It's emotionally abusive. So I don't know. That's a tough one, I guess.
Yeah. It is like I don't have there's no magic wand here for me.
Correct.
I haven't had to deal with infidelity, so I can be sitting here. But when those things happen, like it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of counseling. It takes a lot of mentoring. It takes a lot of wisdom from an older generation who've been through some of these things and are still together after 50 or 60 years, right? So I'm not saying there's an end all be all. I just know for me, because of the love that Christ tells me to have for my wife and to give myself for her, right? If I have to love her that hard, it means that I have to love her through any mistake that she makes. And I want her to love me through any mistake that I make. And it's hard. Yeah. But my wife said, hey, one of our goals, husband, is I want us to outlove each other in this marriage.
I love that.
And
that's
I was like,
perfect.
Me, I'm like, what are you talking about? You trying to get deep? She was like, no, if we spend more time trying to outlove each other and not trying to outcompete each other, it's a win-win. And that's why we're on a win-win.
Absolutely.
Completely
agree.
Yeah. It's make no mistake. I tell people marriages work, but we fight for our jobs. We fight for our kids. I'm gonna fight for the love of my life, who I swore to honor and protect and defend and to die for and to stay with forever. I have to bring that to the table. I have to live that, and I have to show that. No one's sitting here saying marriage is easy, but it can be if you put the right work in and you utilize the right tools. You can make it, and you can thrive, and you can be happy. If we learned anything, like let's not mistake the love affair we got to see between Barack and Michelle in the Oval Office. How they were affectionate towards each other in public. How they held hands that were genuine, that was not forced. I mean, we have to capitalize on that kind of love and that kind of Black love that can exist within our community and within our relationships. But you got to put in that work. And the work is for the benefit of you. It's not to tear you down. It's not to destroy you. It's to help build you up. That's what it's there for. My wife is my helpmeet. She drops wisdom nuggets all the time. All the time. Going into meetings a couple of weeks ago, she was like, now I know what the Lord has been telling you, husband. You keep your tongue still. And when I kept my tongue still, the Holy Spirit revealed everything that was going on without me saying one word to anybody. And so it's listening to her, my wisdom. 5%ers call their wives their wisdom, like listening to her wisdom. And I call her wisdom, like listening to her. It's enhanced every part of my life with her being by my side. My wife has stayed home for 16 years. She said, I didn't worry about anything. God gave me a dream that you were my covering. So whether you were making 40,000 or 80,000, he said, you my provider and you're going to take care of me. So I don't worry about money. I don't worry about that stuff. And I'm like,
done and done.
Yeah, she's done and done. I'm like, well, I got to pay bills and I gotta run it. She's done and done. She walks by faith that much. And so it's inspirational. You know, we came out of counseling one year and it said, you know, go home, ask your wife if she's living her dream, ask your husband if he's living his dream. And she said, absolutely. I get to stay home. I get to homeschool our daughter. I get to instill in her Christian values. Like, you know, I thank you for allowing me this space to do this. This is what I've wanted to do. And she said, what about you? What about your dreams? I said, I don't have no dreams. My dreams died. All I think about is taking care of you and our daughter. And she looked at me and she said, that's sad. Do whatever you got to do to fix it. And with that, that's why I dropped my first album in 2018. I graduated from college in 2018. I wrote my first book in 2018. It was like all these things. She didn't say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, I hope we're not a burden to you. She was like, no, I need you to do something about that. Do something about it. Pursue your dreams. Pursue your goals. Do the things you love to do. Do the things that bring you joy. Because if you're broken, I'm broken.
Period.
If you're not whole, I'm not whole. And that's the oneness. That's the oneness in marriage that we have with each other. And it's a beautiful thing. And so when I tell people a marriage for 20 years has been a honeymoon, it has. We had a ball Saturday night. We have not laughed so hard ever in a long time. And we just had a ball. You know, and I ordered some vegan food. I had a vegan chef, you know, drop off some vegan food for her. Had a little bit of soul food for the, you know, folks we had over, you know. And it was not a big one. It was just another couple that my daughter spent time with. So, no, we did not have a COVID party, y'all. But it was just spending time with another couple who we walk this. We walk this walk together and we share and we open up. So we want to make sure that we want our children to see a solid foundation of what possibility of marriage can be in Christ and when you wait on that one that he has for you. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I like that. So I want to ask you, because I had a similar question in here about, you know, I noticed I've come across a lot of guys in dating that want to wait until they have it all together before pursuing their wife or marriage. And I understand, you know, especially if you desire to be a provider, that's important for you. And if you don't feel like you're there, then, you know, it creates that issue for you. So so you kind of shared something similar with like your dreams and goals were kind of put on hold because you were taking care of the family. What's the disconnect? What is it about guys that are like, I can only take care of my family, or I can only write the book, or why can't it be all of it? Why can't you grow in purpose and in love at the same time? Like,
we got mental block issues. So part of it is, and I was told, hey, Tony, you don't have your degree yet. Do not get married. Like, just don't do it. But I'm a worker. Like, I'm a hustler. You know, like my wife from Beverly in Chicago. I'm from Ida B. Wells. You know, like we on Stateway Gardens. You know, I'm from the projects of the concrete jungles. You know, moved to the South Side where it was a bit more of a middle class area. You know, after I went into the foster care system, but it was like, you know, this. You know, we're from two different worlds. I believe. So I want to speak for all men in general. So because you brought it up, I believe, and brothers, please don't take this the wrong way. Don't judge me for it, because I know it's not all of you. I believe because of when I say dominance of Black women in education, the amount of Black women who are growing to be not just entrepreneurs, but amazing entrepreneurs. I think there's a bit of intimidation and fear there for men. And, you know, you may get, I'm not sure what this alpha word is, but I've heard of Kevin Samuels on the alpha male. I've heard of a couple of Black women who consider themselves alpha females, right? Alpha women. Sorry about that, saying females. I know for me, I just knew that when I did, there were things I wanted to do. Like, man, nobody's rapping at 49 unless you're like Nas or Jay-Z, right? Like, nobody's rapping at this age. But It's a passion of mine. And so I believe that having an understanding when a man makes that statement, when you're in a relationship with him, ask him what that looks like. So when you say you want to get yourself together, what does it mean, get yourself together? Get details. Ask the right questions, like, what does this really mean? Because if you want to get yourself together, then you shouldn't be in a relationship at all. Because don't get me hooked on you after a year and then you say you don't want to get married because you're still trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. No, don't hook a woman like that. Like if you want to be real about it, be upfront. But women have to be able to, this is why it's great for women to ask these questions early on in relationships. Just get it out. You know, when I met my wife, the first 2 months, excuse me, I said, hey, I'm $10,000 in debt. She was like, that's cool. Just know I'm not marrying a man that's in debt. Okay, conversation's over. I spent 1 year paying off. You know what you need to do. I spent 1 year paying off $10,000 in debt. And after I did it, I went and bought myself a nice steak. I did.
Good.
I got focused. I got focused, making $42,000 a year. I paid off $10,000 in debt in 1 year. But I let her know there's not going to be a lot of whining and dining. We're going to be hitting like the local stores, the local restaurants. You know, it's not going. I said if I got to prepare for our future together, which is what I'm planning on doing, it's not going to be a lot of high profile dating. It's not going to be a lot of this and that. I got to get focused on this goal. So yeah, I rocked her up. I put $12K on her finger, but that's because she invested that amount of time. So I felt I needed to bless her with something. The ring, yeah, it's symbolic and all of that, but I put work into that ring. You know, I paid for that ring cash. I didn't put that ring was not done on a payment plan. I paid the ring off and I put it on her finger when I put it on her finger. But Jaimi, we got engaged with an engagement ring. We didn't get engaged with an engagement ring. See, that's when I knew.
You got engaged with a wedding ring or
with a wedding band.
Okay, wedding band, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I got engaged with a wedding band, not with an engagement ring.
Right.
You know, and that's when I knew, like, she don't really care about the small stuff. She still want platinum, like she made that clear. But it was just like, you know, and I was telling, you know, some young ladies, what do you mean you bought her a wedding band? Bro, where the rock at? They want to see the rock. I was like, you may need a rock. That's not what my future wife needs.
Thank you. I talked to her about it. I got this.
But when she did see that rock, though, she was pretty darn happy. You know, but it's about the joy inside of the relationship. So when men say they want to get themselves together, they've got work to do. Mm-hmm. I just say, don't string a sister along until you got yourself together. Like if you say you need to get yourself together, be able to explain what that means to a woman, and so she can make the decision on, hey, bro, there's some things I could probably help you with. There's some instructions I could probably help. You need some contacts? I got some contacts for you too. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to overthrow you. I'm here to push you. I'm not here to shove you. It's a difference between pushing a husband to greatness and shoving a husband to fail. It's a big difference.
Big difference. No, very well said. It makes sense. It's definitely case by case. And I love how you broke that down. It's all about the communication and the intention.
Absolutely.
So I love that. So, okay, here's one. What are some things that you learned about yourself through being married?
Oh, that I'm an emotional dude.
Oh, I love that though.
No, that's not good though. Like it made me be on 10 with everything, like small stuff. You know, one of my mentors, one of the elders, he used to tell me, he's like, Tony, you got to keep honey in your pocket. I was like, what are you talking about? You know, she doing this and she doing that. He was like, honey is a sweetener, right? I said, yeah. He said, sweeten her up. Hey, I gotta buy flowers. Okay. So I was like just super highly emotional. And this is why we're great opposite, because she'll tell you she is, Jaimi, when you meet her one day, she's not. She's not. I'm the emotional guy. And I'm cool with that, because me being emotional was part of who I am. You know, and what I had to learn to, you know, like, is this really a battle you want to fight? You know, so what? Right. She doesn't want to buy pop. If you want pop that bad, bring it in the house yourself. But you also know that if you buy pop, it's not going to be good for your body. And so I just had to like, why can't we get pop? Why? it was just usually everything around me revolves around food. Let me make that clear. So my emotions get high. You know, what you mean? There's no meat for dinner? Like, why not? I don't understand why there's like, okay, fine. But it's like she wants me to live longer. So my emotions usually get high when we deal with food. And so making the transition since January to just have meat twice a week. I mean, I sleep better. I'm more energetic. I've got superior focus at work now that I just didn't have before when I was taking and consuming all of this meat. So I know her best intentions are always for me and for us long-term inside of our relationship. And so that was one of the things for me I had to learn to curb, to be able to better express myself without that domineering, I'm a military man, male type of domination. You know, like she wasn't given for me to dominate. She was given to me to love and to cherish. And some of those conversations we just had to have. How do you want to be loved? How do you want to be touched? What am I not doing that's not working for you while we're in this intimate relationship? Because if it's not working for you, I don't want you settled. I want you satisfied every time we have an intimate encounter. I want you to feel what I feel. I want you to have the pleasure that I have. And though sometimes, and I had being open to that feedback. Now, you know, when a man is asking a woman, when a husband is asking a wife, you know, am I pleasing you? I mean, be ready for that answer. But I needed the answer because I need to make sure that I'm taking care of you just like you take care of me. And whatever that means, you know, because this intimacy can be fleeting, you know, as you get older, when you get certain, you know, mechanical issues, and when you have certain surgeries and these things, like desires and all these things can change. Can we still love each other after prostate cancer? Can we still love each other after breast cancer surgery? Can we still love each other after a hysterectomy? These are the things and the conversations that we had early on during premarital counseling, because we know if all these other things are going to work normal, let's deal with the stuff that's in the outside normal that's going to help us become an extraordinary couple and an extraordinary example.
Yeah, no, I love that. I agree. We got your friend Gary in the chat. He said, pushing a husband to greatness. Yes, that's my brother.
Gary Dawson.
Not
that's
shoving
my brother.
him.
Yes, yes, yes.
I love that. And no, you mentioned, so I feel like a lot of the stuff you're saying, what I'm hearing as a woman, because sometimes, you know, in talking to a lot of men, there is sometimes a selfishness that you guys have. And I don't know if it's like innate or whatever, but it's like, it's like sometimes I'm like, gosh, you know, these guys are really like selfish. Like you almost have to, what you're explaining to me sounds like you've worked beyond that. And it takes work because there is a hyper awareness you need to have in order to even communicate and ask about, like you said, the intimacies and how I'm doing, and allowing her to be like, okay, well, you know, the meat's going to do this, or to speak in your life for the overall greater good of you, but then for you to actually take the advice because you can hear with the right ear. She's not telling you what to do, but she loves you and is, you know, so being able to not have that selfish, egoic, forceful, like I'm the man thing is so powerful, but it's learned, correct? Like, do you feel like that's something that you had to learn and cultivate? Because it doesn't seem to come natural to guys.
I mean, again, I told you my wife is not emotional. So if she got something to say, she's going to say it. And she'll do it in the most respectful manner. But only wives, only wives know how to hit a brother. Like right in that spot. You know, like they can say words sometimes that it's like, man, but she did it so nice. I can't even get mad because what she said hit me hard. You know, what she said hit me hard, but she did it in such a nice way. I can't even be mad at her. And then when she right, that just kind of makes it harder for a brother to have to, you know, now we got to lose our egos. We got to lose our selfish tendencies, but no one can check a husband like a wife. No one.
Just that subtle, powerful. It's like she checks you in the point where it's like, you already know. So just...
Yes. Yeah. And,
that's good.
9 out of 10 of the times, Jaimi, when I don't listen to her, something goes crazy. That's all I can say to that. When I don't listen,
sometimes you need to see that so that way you know. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
so I just start. You know, you asked one of my favorite Bible verses is Wifey 3:16. Happy life. Yes. Happy wife. Happy life. Happy life. Happy wife. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
agree. I love that. And there's so much to that. And I get why we say that. And actually, I've had a few times on this show where guys are like, well, we need to have, you know, a happy husband. We still trying to figure out, okay, happy wife, happy life. But what can we say for the husbands? Because y'all got to be happy too. Like she said, you guys are broken and can't get it together, it leaks into the family. So.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I agree with the brothers. Like, you know, we joke about the happy life, happy wife from a comedian, but I mean, husbands have to be happy as well, you know, and we desire to be happy. And I believe that if we just start communicating and having conversations that are not attached to anything and be in a place where we can actually listen and repeat back and paraphrase what they're saying so we can gain and gather understanding and then reverse that same conversation to paraphrase and not interpret, I think communication goes a long way in marriage towards successful marriages. We just have to be able to communicate. I know men who are hard-headed. I know brothers who need to be in counseling right now, Queen Jaimi, and they don't want to go because they think they got it all together. They think they got it figured out. If my wife came down here right now and said, I know you're in a meeting, but we need to go to marriage counseling, it's not about whether I think we need it or not. It's about something she expressed as a desire, and we need to do it. We need to do it. And I know brothers, like, we don't like letting people in our business. Look, I've been on Clubhouse. There are several rooms with men out there expressing themselves, expressing their emotions, and expressing their feelings. So if you can do it on Clubhouse, you can do it in your house, because that's where the club starts. Right? And you want the club in your house to never close and never shut down. You want to party every day in the clubhouse of your marriage. And so if you can express these things with men, you can express these things to your spouses in a way that's conducive and in a way that will help. But if either spouse says we need marriage counseling, everybody should be all in for that. Everybody should be all in for that. And it doesn't have to be a friend. Go see a professional. Just whatever you have to do. At the end of the day, if our intent is to stay in our marriages, if our intent is to honor God, then we should be all in for it. I learned more about marriages from a Muslim coworker years ago. She was from Iran. They had 3 kids. And I said, how long you and your husband been in love? She was like, I'm sorry, what do you mean? I was like, wait, y'all got 3 kids. I'm assuming you in love with him. She said, I've never been in love with him. We've been married 20 plus years. They've been married. I said, what do you mean you've never been in love with him? And she said, the problem with you Americans, Tony, is that you base marriage off feelings. We base marriage off covenant. So I've never been in love with him. I probably never will be. My marriage was arranged. Part of my covenant is to produce seed. And I knew exactly what she was saying. We put so much emotion and feeling into our spouses, and we have the opportunity to be selective and choose. But her staying in her marriage was all based on the contract of her faith in Islam. And I said, so if a woman who's Muslim in a prearranged marriage can love or be with her husband based solely on the contract, how much for us who are in Christ, who got to choose, who got to say, this is who God called me to be with, who got to say that I'm in love with you, who got to say I do with no pressure, how much more can we understand the covenant of our relationship and the power that is in that relationship if Christ is actually the center? If she understands that, and if 100,000 of married Muslim women understand this covenant contract, why are we in Christianity getting it twisted and not spending time talking about that covenant relationship that was established first through Christ to his relation to the church, and then transform that message into our marriages for endurance and longevity?
I mean, that's very powerful. And why do you think that is? Like, is it the way? Because I was raised Christian too. And I think there's a lot of sensitivity in that because one, we have, it's like you have the church and the pastors and all of these things, but you also have to have relationship with God in a particular way. And I don't know if we're always taught how to have relationship with God. And sometimes that makes it challenging to understand how to really implement the word in your life in a authentic way. I don't think that we're sharing the gospel in a way where people can receive it in that way. Because even with you saying that, I'm listening, but I'm like, I'm gonna have to, when we get off here, I'm gonna have to think like, okay, because I was engaged to be married at one point, and yes, I was younger, but of course it had nothing to do with the covenant of Christ. Like, I was like, he's fine. I love him. We have so much fun together. We're great friends. I just want to be with him all the time. And that was it. So my heart was set up for it, but it's like the mindset that comes with it. And then, Gary in the chat said facts, because the marriage has to endure and thrive far beyond the intimacy of youth.
Yes, and absolutely. Absolutely. I think you nailed it, Jaimi. And I told my young people this past Sunday, I said, growing up, I wish I would have learned more about the love of God than the wrath of God. If we start the gospel, if we start the gospel message with wrath and condemnation and judgment and criticism, knowing that in the Gospels, Jesus did exactly the opposite when he presented himself. Like, I just think, he who winneth souls is wise, and you don't win souls condemning. You win souls with love.
Love.
And I don't think there's any compromise in my faith to say that. I mean, talk to any young, I'll speak for the Black church because I grew up in a Black church. The fact that we have names, so we'll leave that alone for another conversation. But ask them how many of them felt more rules and regulations than love and acceptance. Just ask them. Just start asking the people in your age demographic, Jaimi, and they'll be like, but I never really thought about that. It's the love of Christ that draws men nearer, and we have to live that out. How many sermons have you heard on a Sunday morning? And I know that primarily Sunday morning is focused on those who are non-believers, right? Like, I get that. But how many sermons have been shared across the pulpit about marriage and covenant?
Not enough. Not enough in a real way.
Because Sunday morning is still your biggest audience, right? For believers and non-believers, it's still your biggest audience, for them to hear and see that. I think Bishop Jakes does it,
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, he'll hold a regular session with married couples that's explosive, And so, I think that's part of it. I think we in the Christian church, if we learn more about the love of God than the wrath of God, if we learn how to share his love with others, I think that's what's key. And that's how I'm working on raising my daughter, because that means I've got some old habits in here of how I grew up in the church that I have to break, right? Like, it's not an easy process, right? That only comes from relationship, and I think we start there. But I think when it comes to marriage, I think there's always an out. There's always an exit. So much so that Jesus spoke about it when Moses, when they were allowed to divorce for whatever reason, and, referenced in the Old Testament as well by Moses. But it's the hardness of the heart that really hits the core of marriage. And I think men will have a harder time dealing with a wife who does it than a wife who's experienced that. Men, we go crazy. we oh God, she cheated on me. I don't know it. Oh my God, and then when he does it, it's like, well, I'm hoping she forgives me and that we'll be able to restore the relationship because, it was a mistake that I made and I apologize for it. And she should just be ready to move forward because I'm ready to move forward now. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let the shoe on the other foot. Yeah, we broke. Believe me, we in trouble. I don't know how to recover from this. I don't think I can ever love her again.
Yeah.
Think about any friend of yours who's still married, who's dealt with infidelity. And this is what I shared with one brother.
Ooh.
I said, I want you to imagine that every time she kisses you, she's thinking of the other woman you kissed. And every time she touches you, she's thinking of how you touched that other woman. And she chooses to forgive you and still kiss you. And it still allows you to be in her sacred place in her body. I said, that's a level of forgiveness that you never want to experience as a man. And this is why we don't get to dictate the process of the apology and the forgiveness. We have to let the person who has been cheated on drive that. If we don't, then absolutely right. It's not going to make it. the marriage is not going to last. It has to heal, and it has to heal the way the person who was cheated on wants it to heal. And if that means counseling 3 days a week, then that means counseling 3 days a week. It means that I don't miss one session. It means that I show up before she does when it's time for that counseling session. If that means she says, I'm not ready for you to go out with your fellas for a whole year, that means I'm going to be on lockdown for a whole year. If my intent is really to have our marriage restored to a place as if it had never been done, then I need to do everything the wife needs me to do in order to accommodate that. Because once the wife lets us back into that space, she's saying, I've forgiven you.
Yeah.
And she needs, for the rest of that marriage, she needs the assurance that you will never do it again. And that's love. That's love. That's love.
It's very
I know your butt is there, Queen J, but that's love.
I know, but because again, like I've been through it and I stayed. I was willing to, go, but when I saw it wasn't going to change, it was like, all right, I had to choose myself. And this was in an engagement. It wasn't a marriage, but it was just like, I get the love. Our hearts are resilient as women, and it is different, men and women, the way we love and how we can bounce back. But that also indicated to me, like, I got to be careful next time I choose because I know the capacity of my love, so I can't just give that to anybody. So we all learn in different ways. So I think forgiveness and resiliency and being malleable and healing and all, I believe in all that. So I'm not up for just throwing people away, but I also, everything that you said when you shared the damage and the destruction that comes with it, because, as I hear you speak, it makes sense, but it's like, gosh, if he wasn't able to do everything I needed up front, now I'm supposed to sit here and think that he can stay in the house for a year, give up the phone. Now you can be obedient. Like, I don't know.
Right.
You couldn't do it up front. So can
work.
you do it now? I don't know, so, but pain, y'all respond to pain. So if you finna leave your woman, lose your woman, I feel it might do men. I feel like men, y'all respond to pain.
We do respond to pain. If it don't
hurt you, then you're like,
we do respond to it. That's good. You got me on that one. I'm gonna be quiet. You got me on that one. Do you remember the scene in The Best Man when Morris Chestnut, he was getting ready to get married, and the images that went through his head?
Yes, of his friend.
But that was only when he got cheated on, when he was living a life of cheating, right? But it's just like you said, men respond to pain. You got me on that one. Hands up, I surrender.
Thank you, because I was like, is this just my observation, or do y'all need to really be hurting in order to like make some changes?
but in marriage, if I see my wife hurting, I gotta be ready to make some changes.
Yeah.
If we won, I gotta be ready to make some changes. Have to be.
I agree. So with everything that we spoke about, especially, so the church, I used to work in women's ministry, and the church hurt is real. So not only are we not learning about God and Christianity and how Jesus really was in a real way, you said it perfectly. It's like, are we being loved or condemned? And when women are feeling that way, the whole game is messed up. So between the foundation being wonky and the way society is, like the culture now, and I say the culture because it's not the whole culture, but a lot of our music and media is it can be destructive to the narrative of Black love and family and growth and godliness and all of these things. Because you look at the church and it's like, I can't have sex, I can't do that, God's gonna strike me down, I'm finna go to hell. That doesn't feel fun and like love. But then you go here and you feel different. Now you're following the ways of the world in a different way. So how do you feel like society has kind of played a part in where we are now when it comes to the value of marriage and how people even honor it?
Yeah, I think it this way, and I want to choose my words very carefully here, because the world is going to be the world always, and it's not going to change. I think, and I shared this with some folks when I did a sermon a couple of weeks ago, and that is, if you don't have an understanding of the relationship that was really cantankerous between Israel and Judah and the sectarian violence that happened between them, how even then in those times that we had priests who had wayward sons and we had priests who were wayward themselves, right? I think the church will always be a hospital. And I look at the church as a hospital. You have people who are going to come, who are still working out their issues and working out their life. And it doesn't mean that they don't have love for the Lord, even after they give their life to the Lord, right? I think the presentation happens when, you know, there's a reason that the single person should be mindful of the things of the Lord. Because once you get married, you can't. But God gives us this grace not to be 100% focused on him as married couples, right? Because he knows the responsibility of the household and of the family, right? And so the rules are in place. You know, when they talk about, oh, we don't want fornication, you know, if you're single, you should not be out there sleeping around and having sex. You know, it could seem like it's rule-based. It's really, for me, it's honor-based. It's having an understanding that my temple is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And if I do anything against that, then I'm opening myself up to other things. I'm opening myself up to soul ties. You know, we could talk about fornication, we could talk about pornography and men and those habits, and we could talk about all of these things, right? We could talk about people who don't fornicate, but they mean, they rude, they yell at people. You know, it's so many things. I don't want to just isolate out one particular sin or anything, but when you look, everybody has rules and regulations, right? Every faith on this planet has rules and regulations. Every job you work at has rules and regulations. But when it comes to our relationship with God, these things should be done out of our love and reverence for him and the word, and not necessarily because, oh, I was told not to do this, it's too restrictive. No, it is to save your soul, and it is to keep your life. You can go out there. It only takes one time to get pregnant. I just spent time with 12 men in a conversation, and I just asked them, I said, if you guys are still out here and you're still having sex, have you ever thought about how many women you can actually get pregnant? And to hear, I never really thought about a kid. I was like, that's the first thing that should be on your mind when you're thinking about having. But what I'm saying is there are people who just don't think this far ahead because they have not been under the right mentoring and the right leadership and the right guidance to have someone explain these things to them, Queen J. And so, you know, the biggest example I can give to you is the life that I live on a daily basis and the rhema that I share on a consistent basis, right? Like, I'm doing this interview. People who know me gonna see this. Maybe some people I'm wrong. Maybe some people I flirted with in the past. I'm not trying to hide anything, right? I'm just being straight truthful here, right? I don't mind putting myself out there because you overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, right? My life and my marriage is for Christ. And that's how I deal with couples when I meet them, whether they are Christian or not. When I meet with them, and it's not a lot, but when I do talk to them, I'm not a counselor. I do mentoring. Hey, share with me what's going on. I've had people who've come to talk to me and my wife, Queen J, and I've had to tell them, you know what? You're too much for me. You need to make a meeting for the pastor, and the church will make an opportunity for you to get professional counseling paid for. Because this I don't do. I can't dig into y'all past. That's not my role and responsibility. I can help with a little bit, but I'm not a counselor. I know my limitations, right? I don't want that on me. But I think when we're talking about these things, when it comes to people who are newly in Christ and they're getting married, I think we just have to wrap so much love around them and less condemnation around them. That's not saying softening up the word. That's not saying, well, don't preach the gospel, preach part of it. I'm not saying any of that. I believe in Jesus Christ, Yeshua, him and him crucified, him buried, him resurrected. That's my belief system. I don't have to compromise that for anybody. I just share my beliefs. That's all I do. And I give them the angle from a Christian perspective because that's the biggest part of my human being makeup is my relationship with Yeshua. That's the premise and the foundation of my marriage. I have to bring that in because without it, that's the foundation my marriage was built on. It wasn't built off me marrying somebody who didn't know Christ and I married them, and now they don't want to go to church, and now I got to put in 1,000 hours a week just trying to get them to come to church. The foundation didn't start off that way. My foundation started on Christ. My covenant with my wife, he's the foundation of that. That's how we can endure. That's how we can share. That's how we can go through disease. That's how we can go through sickness. That's how we can go through, past in-law issues. That's how we can deal with all these things, because our foundation is on Christ. And by the way, my in-laws are the bomb, and I love them to life. All my sisters and my brothers.
Side note.
I want to make that clear. Side note, my in-laws are some of the most amazing people on the planet. And I've learned a lot from them on how to parent better. I've learned so much from them, And so I just wanted to share that. It was not my intent to turn this into a witnessing podcast. I want to thank you for allowing me the space to share where I am. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, I love it. I really do. And it's so important. It's very, very important. It has everything to do with everything. Gary in the chat said, because the church fell for the okie doke and separated doctrine from our intimate relationships, from our marriages, from our sexuality, from our vulnerabilities, from our marriage bed, etc. And I get where you're coming from. It's like, if we're really going to receive it in an integrated way, it has to be integrated. It can't just be like chopped up. Yeah. Like you were saying, we don't want to be harsh with the word. I mean, we don't want to water down the word, but it's like, this is life. Life in totality. This is not little pieces and sections, this is why people are spiritual on Sunday and will cuss you out in the parking lot before they even leave the vicinity.
Yes, some in the church, but we ain't gonna go there right now.
I mean, but it is because we're not talking about.
I think I believe like people who usher at churches have one of the most amazing hospitality jobs on the planet.
Yeah.
I have watched the older women and men deal with people who have been downright rude with so much grace. And it's because in their training as being an usher, they are taught to be ambassadors for Christ. That's why you've never seen an usher, well, hopefully get into it with anybody while they're in the pew, because they're taught to be ambassadors for the Lord. That every interaction they have, people can be as rude as they want to you, and that's not justifying it. But if you return that, you're the one who's going to be judged for it, because there's this weird judgment that comes against church people all the time. Oh my God, he go to church. How could he do this? Because I'm human. That's how things come out, right?
Right.
Yeah. What I shared with our security ministries at any church can just be so they're male dominated, or they have that law enforcement type feel for them. And when I spoke to a group this year of those people in that role, I said, I want you to view your position differently now. I want you to go in. Whenever we come back to church as normal, when people start coming back in the congregation, I want you to look at every interaction you have from a place of being an ambassador for Christ. So when that young man does come in with his pants sagging, that you see his heart before you see his pants sagging.
Please.
That you see his soul before you see the earrings in his head. That you greet him with a warm smile before you say, take that hat off your head. I just want you to just imagine living life as an ambassador for Christ, and how receptive the young people will be when they know you're not there to guard them, that you're there to protect them and make sure that they stay safe. All it takes is a flip of a personality to change that dynamic and turn that relationship around.
I completely agree. So much so, because that's love. Like, even those who are watching who may not necessarily be Christian, like, that's okay, because we're still talking about, this is still a love thing. Like, I'm with you. I love Jesus. I love God. I was raised in a church. So that's my preference, but still what we're talking about at the end of the day is love, but God is love. So Gary brought up something good in the chat where he said, the gospel is a call of a relational God, calling to people he wants to have a relationship with. So for us to neglect our relationships with each other, we neglect essential purpose of the gospel. And it's true. So like you're saying, like, why Why do we have to get so frustrated with the youth right off the bat? Why does it have to be? We can approach them with love and allow them to be seen because they deserve it.
Yeah.
They don't have to look like what we need them to look like in order to be loved and seen and brought in. So yeah, these things can't be neglected, but then you want to turn around and call yourself holy.
Yeah. and I had to learn that from one of my mentors who had to take me to school on how to work with the young people. Like, you know, Tony, don't do them like you were done in the church. You got to be able to speak softer, be better. Everybody know you're military, but this ain't the time for you to be military. It's a time for you to embrace these children in a different way. And I had to receive that feedback from her and then be able to execute that. I love the young people at my church. I love the Champs Male Mentoring Program that I get to work with on Saturdays. Like, I love our young people, but I had to be taken to school by my big sister on how to actually work with our young people so they can see the love of Christ and not the heavy hand that men typically bring to the table when we're dealing with young people. And that doesn't make me soft. It won't make them soft. It just means I'm learning how to love different and teach different. That's based off of Christ's warmness and not his condemnation. And I think that's what our young people are missing. And, you know, I lost my nephew last June.
Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He was murdered in Arizona.
Jesus.
And it's a longer story that we can't get into, but losing him was painful because I tried to be not that heavy hand. I tried to be that love for the little time that he stayed with me before he got to go live back in Arizona. My brother is still in mourning. He'll probably be in mourning forever. That if my son is not under my care, he'll be dead before he makes 19 years old. And my brother's words came true. And it's because the system is not designed to love our families. The system is not designed to care how we raise our kids. The system is designed to do what it does in separating boys from great fathers. And so my nephew was with me. I wanted to make sure that he got love when he saw me. And there was a time he put his hands on me. Now, you know, I told you, a military queen, Jay.
Yeah.
And I let him know, I said, don't get it twisted. I said, I wanted to show you a different type of love by not putting my hands back on you in return. Because power is from a position of knowing what you can do to someone and not carrying it out. That's what power is. I did let him know that the first one was free, though. The second one, you're going to have to pay for that one, bro.
Yeah.
But when I think about,
there's
a time and place. But when I think about, when you talk about loving, cherishing, honoring, the church has made some mistakes as a whole. And again, the church is like, it's still a broken place, right? Because you have people who are coming in with every weight of baggage on them. And the church has done a lot more work on mental health care, I believe, the last 4 years than they ever have before in history. And I think we have more work to do in that regard. But I just believe that if we love enough people and we teach them the love of God that came through his son, and I don't try to convince anybody because they're not going to convince me otherwise. But if I can share the love, and then if I can explain to married people, married couples, this love that my wife and I have found through knowing Christ Jesus, through knowing his forgiveness, through knowing the power of his Holy Spirit, and through that dwelling within our marriage, that I believe it'll give them a different hope. I believe it'll open up a different light. I believe it'll give them a different opportunity to know that this marriage can work, no matter how hard it is, and no matter where it is, it can work. Been talking to a young man on Clubhouse. I got to follow up with him because he just came on. He was like, "Yeah, it's a wrap. We're done." And I just said, "Hey, bro, you don't know me. Just reach out to me. And if you're willing to do this love dare just for 40 days, I don't care what's going on. I don't need to know your business. You ain't got to share your. If you can do this love dare for 40 days, you never know what can turn around in your marriage, man. You just never know.
Get him.
I think we have to dwell on getting a divorce is easy. Okay, great. We got it. I want to get a divorce. I want to leave my marriage right now. Let's put that to the side. Now let's deal with what we can create. What possibilities can we create to restore and renew the love? And that takes that individual to take a hard look. We had a session one night where we had to write down at least 10 to 8 things about our spouse that, you know, that we had a problem with. Man, I couldn't wait. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be on and popping now, baby. Yeah. I get to express myself. And, you know, it's great because when you do it in a counseling session, everybody's doing this. So it's not like you're picking on someone, right? So I got home and I had my list written out. And then, you know, the Lord was talking to me and he was like, read that list again. So I read the list again. 8 of those things were reactive. So if 8 of these things I have on this list are reactive, look, I'm pointing the finger at you, but where that thumb going? 8 of the things were reactive, Queen Jaimi. So I had to look back at myself. She had to own the 2, but I had to own the 8. Right?
But isn't that how it usually goes? That's that 80-20 thing.
It is. Yeah. It is. It is. And Paul tells us, examine yourself to see if you truly be in the faith. Examine yourself to see if you truly be in your marriage. And if you find that you're not, it doesn't mean leave. It means after you've examined yourself, you start studying again so you can pass that exam. So you can get where you need to be in that marriage. If it's your desire to stay there, because it still has to do with desire. You can't go in with the premise of, I'm going to change this person or they'll change for me. If a husband will not change for his Lord, he doesn't have the power, the width, or the strength to change for his wife. Period. If he can't give up pornography for God, he's not going to give it up for the wife. If he can't give up cheating for the Lord, he's not going to give up cheating for the wife. It's impossible. Everything has to start with God. Everything has to be centered in a Christian marriage around the Lord. You know, and even when I love my wife. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just really quick. Even when I hear that, like, if God lives within us, there's a part of you that's got to want to do it for yourself. If you can't even do it for you, then yeah.
Somebody cash app Jaimi $100 for that one. That was gold right there. That was gold. That was gold. Yeah. And so, but again, we spend time around married folks. Well, not now because of COVID, but I mean, you know, there's digital opportunities that come up, you know, where we can participate in sessions and pieces like that. I just think we have to really be invested in this. And, you know, I was a guy, I wasn't afraid of women. So I would walk, like, I would approach, when I say, I don't care, doctor degree, 18 businesses, I don't care, girl, you fine. Can I holler at you for a minute? Like, I'm not scared. And I think, and push back at me, because I'm not going to say this the right way, Jaimi. Women being in the forefront of just being on y'all game, I think men are intimidated by that. And don't dumb yourself down to accommodate anybody at all. You know, I got a running joke with an old friend of mine where I was like, you know, you're just too intelligent. Just don't show it all at one time. Are you asking me to dumb myself? I'm like, no, I know it came out like that, but I was not after her that.
Just give it advice.
It was over 20 years ago, and we still joke about that. But, you know, it's like, you have to be, a woman is more than likely going to be more whole than a man in certain situations. And that's because, you know, I don't know, like the women in technology that I'm surrounded by, like, they're business owners. They're like, I don't need to know how to be a coder. I can own the business and let you be the coder, you know? And so, you know, that, you know, they're on their game. I think men may be intimidated by that. And so if a man sees you making $600,000 a year or even $100,000 a year, it's going to come off where sometimes we just think you don't need a man. And what we have to understand as men is that a woman is not necessarily in it for the money. She's in it for a safety and foundation of security. But, you know, I was talking to a CEO And she said, you know, Tony, at the end of the day, I just want to be able to go home and be led by my husband. I run a corporation with 300 people every day. When I get home, I just want to be with my husband. That's it. I'm not trying to regulate. I'm not trying to dominate. I want to say, oh, I'm home. My man got it. I'm just going to sit back and relax. Like, and if we just can't be intimidated. I think when we meet queens like yourself, that men have to be ready to step their game up. But it goes back to the initial question you asked. When a man says he's got to get himself together, well, I had time to get myself together. We were engaged for 25 months. So in that time, I pulled myself out of debt. I started saving money. I didn't get my first car until after I was married. You hear me?
Yeah.
So after I was married, you know, there are people who told my wife, oh, you know, he ain't got no degree. You shouldn't worry about being with him. And she was just like, God got him. I don't care about that stuff.
Correct. And that's why we have to be careful the way we speak into and over people and realize that a lot of that comes through our own filter. So I try to be mindful speaking like that too, because we don't know. And good thing that she wasn't gullible. Like, this day and age requires us to know and be anchored in the truth of who we are in such a way where all of them little comments and stuff, God's got it. I got it. I know what I heard. Like, because we're being so swayed by everything that we're hearing. You know, and that's especially with social media. Like, we're so in trouble with that. The comparison, or he needs to have this, or he needs to do that. And, you know, I look on Twitter too, and I see some of the guys who are like, you know, not loving the whole strong, independent woman thing. And I understand. Now, if a woman is like, you know, first of all, I think that comes from pain. As a woman, if a woman has to really be like, I'm strong, I'm independent, and she got to preach it like that, in my opinion, she's hurting. Somebody's let her down. She's been abandoned and feels like there's no other way. But then it's like, when you speak of the intimidation, in the meantime, it's like, yeah, well, I'm out here doing everything I can because the man isn't here. What am I supposed to do? A girl's got to eat. She's got to keep her nails done, the lashes, the spa, my hair.
You want me to wait?
We can't wait. We have to.
Can't wait. Right.
It does require strength because a lot of us do come home and we're not being loved on. And then we have to go out in the world and be that and deal with what we deal with. Men deal with what they deal with, but we got ours.
Right.
And there is an independence, because who do we rely on? We're too grown for the parents, even though some of them are still there, you know, and all of these things. But it's like, I challenge men to even ask themselves, like, this whole strong, independent women thing. Well, why is it that? Where are you? Because if we don't have you, then please tell me what other choice we have but to be strong and independent. Please. I'm all ears.
Right. Yeah. You got, I have no answer for that one, Queen Jaimi. I don't. Because again, it was like, I've never been afraid to approach a woman. I got my face cracked a lot, you know, because again, I wasn't like, you know, and this guy was just like, you know, it was like, Tony, you're like the friend guy. Like, you're like, I don't want to be your friend, girl. We keep talking about.
I'm trying to procreate with you.
You know? Yeah. You know, like, let's make this happen. And it's crazy, but I'm gonna tell you this. I look back and I'm so grateful for who God sent me. I am so appreciative for who the Lord sent me. I have my wife. He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtaineth favor with the Lord. And that's everything I have. I tell people I'm not that fine and I'm not that smart. When I say God opened up windows for me that poured out blessings, like, I'm in a position that most Black men don't get to in the workplace. You know? Oh, Tony can't have this job. He doesn't have a college degree. Yep, override that. He got the job. You know, to be allowed to work with young people every day, what I do, it's amazing. To be able to pour into their lives, and maybe not directly anymore like I used to when I worked at a specific school in Chicago, but to still be able to encourage their lives, to see the transformations that my organization is making towards being an anti-racist organization. Like, I'm a part of that. That's all because of the favor of the Lord to give me a voice to speak and empower these young people that you can be more. Your history did not start on a slave ship. Your American history didn't even start on a slave ship. We were here before that. Like, to be able to pour into their lives through spoken word, through mentoring that we do, like this is all because my household runs different. My wife stays home. She tends to our spiritual needs. She tends to our physical needs. She makes sure this house runs in great shape every day. She asks me what I need. I ask her what she needs. She's all about spending this money on getting this house remodeled, though. Jaimi, help me, help me, help me.
I mean, she's in there. It's all about
she got to do it. She's in there. But the favor that has come with being connected to this woman, being in covenant with her, it's amazing. And to think that there was a time where it could have been jeopardized because I was stuck on Stupid Street. Man, I can't even fathom going down that road. But to think that, there's a possibility. I had to get to a place where the things that I would share with other women, I had to take those to my wife. I thought because of my childhood, she couldn't relate to a lot of things. And so I would talk to people who could relate, So you talk about soul ties are real. They deadly. They dangerous. They dangerous. And so I had to just say, hey, I don't want to dump on you. So I got counselors who I can dump on when I need to. But if there's something pertinent that I need to share, I recently shared a spoken word piece with her. You heard the one I put up. I typically wouldn't share those pieces with her. So when you talk about something new in marriage, I shared that with her. I want you to know how I feel. I'm broken right now. And I have no clue as to why. My mental is just not screwed on right now. And I want to know what it feels like to be home with Jesus. This is what I wrote about. I'm tired of this day-to-day, just hustle and run. I opened up myself and I shared that with her. And she didn't judge me for it. She just placed her hand on my back. And she said, husband, are you okay? Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's how vulnerable a husband should be with his wife in a relationship. Because at the end of the day, no woman is going to uphold me like her. No woman's going to lift me up like her. And no woman's going to pray me through like her. I realize that. So when you talk about what you got to put in place and boundaries you got to put in place with relationships, it's all that. It's all that. So for what my counselor or therapist can carry, put that on them. But there's certain things when it comes to my spiritual mindset and my mentality, I got to put that on her because I know she's going to intercede for me. I know she's going to fast for me and pull me through whatever form of spiritual darkness is trying to overtake my mind right now so that the mind that's in Christ Jesus can also be in me. Like, she got my back like that.
Come on.
And that's where love continues to develop. That's where marriages continue to thrive. I'm around people at my church who've been married 30, 40, 50, 55, 60 years, still in love with each other. So I don't cling to what's broken. I cling to what's whole and still fighting to keep itself together. I focus on the ones that I can learn from and that I can glean from when things get tough. But honestly, we haven't had to deal with anything tough, Jay. I'm being real.
It's amazing.
Like, because we put this work in consistently. Consistently. We put it in consistently to make sure that we're communicating well, that we apologize when we're rude, that we own our stuff, and that we keep fighting to keep our marriage whole, holy, and on one accord. And if you have the time and the effort, continue to make the time and the effort, but don't settle. Don't let age make you settle. I know it's tough. I know it's tough. Do not let age
settle.
make you settle. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. One of my biggest, closest sisters is still single. I know a couple of guys who want to marry her. She's like, no.
He ain't it.
Her wisdom is great. It's great. It's not it. Don't settle.
Yeah.
And men, the same thing. You asked a unique question about a red flag for men that they see in a woman, and it's It's really hard to see that. And just based on my experience and my lens, it's typically us who are stuck somewhere, right? I think women should be the ones who have a better time breaking down women with each other. You know, I work on breaking down men. So if there's a red flag, I can't really answer that question per se. I just think in a Christian relationship, you keep sex out of it because intimacy blinds you to truth. It will make you forgive a lot and overlook a lot. And because of the way Satan works in the spirit realm, you're not going to see it until after you say, I do. And then you're going to be like, what did I get myself into? That's why scripture says to avoid it. It's to honor your body and honor your temple, because once someone becomes attached to you physically, you're going to miss a whole lot because you've bonded in a way that it was not time for you to bond.
Correct.
That's what you got to be careful of. These are the reasons why scripture is very clear on what it asks Christians not to do. That's what you got to be careful of. I talked to a lot of people, Queen J, who was like, I saw it, but I didn't really see it after this happened. I know it's always been there.
Right.
You know,
right. Yeah.
It's always been there. Yeah. But happily ever after, is it attainable? Absolutely.
Yes.
Christ first.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Christ first. Christ first. I know too many examples of long marriages, of people who have prospered in their relationships, to say that you can't be happily ever after. You can be happily ever after. You can, and take happy out of it, because happy depends on circumstances. You can be joyfully ever after, because joy, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. And may the peace of God, which passes all understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. That is my foundation. That is what I live by. That is what I share.
I love it so much. This has blessed me so much. I'm going to even watch my own show over again.
Awesome.
Make sure I
cool.
collect all the gems.
Yes, I appreciate you for this opportunity. Your work is amazing. I stay on your YouTube channel now. I got to catch up on a couple of things that you released. Who was the actor you interviewed? What was his name?
I interviewed Flex Alexander. I interviewed Frank Oakley from Sweet Magnolias.
Who's the one that was doing the like kind of the video interviews with other men?
BJ Williams.
Man, that
be vulnerable.
That session blessed me with that brother. Wow.
So good.
That was a powerful session. That was I think I was hitting you all like, oh, this is so good, Jaimi. Yes. It was that good. But I appreciate King Speak. I appreciate you opening up this space for men to be able to come on and share our experiences and how they are applicable to us. Because I know everything that I said is not applicable to everybody. It's how it's applicable. But for those who were able to latch on, for those who are in marriages, and again, be it Christian or non-Christian, like the love can live and the love can thrive. But more so for the ones that are built on the foundation of my belief system, Christianity, if you build that foundation on the Lord and you keep love in front of you and you keep forgiveness attached to you, it can work. It does not have to fail. Your marriage does not have to be drama. Like life is life. It's going to happen. Great. We got that. Let's build possibilities now. What can we create for the long run? That is the game that I'm in. I'm in this race for the long run.
Yes. No, I love it. That is just so good. And I can't wait to cut this up and share clips. I just want people to hear it because, again, we hear so many other things and we see so many other things. And like you said, the world is the world. That's fine. But when we're just focused on what the possibilities are and what we can create, like you said, stay attached to forgiveness and all these things, it starts to look a lot brighter and a lot more possible, which is all I want people to see and understand. Like, you know? So this is amazing.
I appreciate your time. So tell all your fans who are out there, I dropped a new single on iTunes. I would love for them to purchase. You heard No Trap?
I sure did.
How did you like it?
I loved it. I'm like, maybe I got to get on because I'm secretly a rapper at heart too.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Miss Exclusive.
Oh, okay. We're gonna have to do a little duet then.
Let me get a little remix.
Yeah. I love it. So yeah, they can find No Trap by The Endurance all on every digital platform. And getting ready to work on a podcast tonight. It's called Stand Back and Stand By. The Problem in America.
Oh, look, that was so full. Like, I see millions of things. I hear and see millions of things.
Yes.
Stand back and stand by.
It's manifesting in ways people never thought. It's manifesting.
We have to share that. Make sure we get links and everything so I can retweet or share or, whatever. And I'd love to do this again at some point. Sometimes I have the Kings on again because there's just so much. I'm sure we could probably talk for another hour if we really got into it.
we could. Hey, sister, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me on. I hope I was a blessing to your audience, and I appreciate you. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. I'll keep tapping in and I'll keep sharing your work because I love me some Jaimi Alexander.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And you guys go follow Tony on everything at The Endurer. You're at Endurer1 on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And then y'all make sure
the Endurer. Yeah, and at Endurer1. Yep. The Endurer.
Beautiful. Yep. And y'all make sure to follow me here on Instagram and follow Kings Speak so you guys know when the next episode is coming out. And of course, on Thursdays, we have Queens Glean, the ladies panel. We're going to talk about all of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be tuning in, listening. You can believe it.
Yes.
I want to see what the queens have to say.
Yes, if it's, we have Kings Speak, but the queens, we got to come behind and glean from what you say and share our perspectives as well. We're all learning from each other, and in order to harmonize relationships, it takes both of us. So we got Queens Glean on Thursday. So y'all make sure to tune in, and we'll stay in touch. And thank you for everything. Have a great rest of your day.
Blessings. Be well. Thank you.
Peace. Thank you.